So we got about 23 people or so in the room with us, and just wanted to get started. Little housekeeping. First of all, those of you who don't know me, I'm Robert Allen. I want to thank the Livingston Chamber of Commerce, Monty, and the whole board for everything they're doing behind the scenes and for making this possible. I have a whole range of people in my world on. I've got chamber people, I've got video people, I've got friends, I've got people I don't know, and I welcome all of you. I also have my partner, my producer, my wife in the room too, Holly. She's going to be managing the chat. So there's a chat function that you can click on, and that will allow you to communicate with me during the session, right? And then I just want to warn you of something. In the chat, those of you who are looking at it, I'm going to type a hello message there. You should see a little pop-up on your screen that there was a chat message. So you can choose to chat to everyone. You can choose to chat just to individuals. So be careful when you chat who you have selected and what you're saying. You also want to stay fully clothed through this entire presentation because, as you can see, you're on camera. You can choose to turn your camera off on the screen at any time you like. You're all muted now. You do have the ability to unmute yourself. If by accident you get unmuted, I'll go ahead and do that. Again, it's nothing personal, just by way of housekeeping. But if you have any questions, please type them into the chat box. I am going to do a Q&A at the conclusion. Obviously, I won't be able to get to every question, but I'll do my best. So let's get started. I've got some slides prepared for you. Then I'm going to share my screen, and we'll go into detail on that as well. Okay. All right. So so today we're here for me to give you kind of a just kind of a primer, a basics, a tour, an overview of the Zoom video platform. I don't know how many of you have had experience prior to what's been going on the last couple of weeks with Zoom, but it's a very, very powerful platform, and it's designed to do exactly what we're doing right now. There's a lot to cover today. Let me share with you some of what we'll be covering. I'll go over what kind of account you should have. That comes up all the time. Wait, my producer is coming in. Okay, so just tell me what the questions are right now so I can listen. Okay, recording, we're recording. If your video is not working, you can try using your phone. Okay, you can sign in with your phone if necessary. We are recording this. I will make the recording available. So you can take notes if you like, if you're that kind of person. If you'd like to just watch the replay, that'll be available for you as well. So I'm going to go over what type of account you should have, what some of the differences are. I'm going to talk a little bit about equipment, some of the things beyond what you're already using that you might want to use. I'm going to talk about your home studio, right, where you should be setting up to do this, and what you can do just from within your own home to improve that. We'll talk about some of the uses for Zoom, some of which you're already aware of, some of which will be new to you. And then we'll talk about what some of the next steps would be, and then we'll leave time at the end for some questions. What I'd like to do now is, if you would indulge me, I'd like for you all to answer just a couple of quick questions. I'm going to launch a poll. You're going to see that come up on your screen. I'll leave that open for just a few seconds. I'm actually going to stop my screen share just so that doesn't interfere. And just so you know, I may have overridden your selection of what you can see. You should all be seeing me right now. I'll go over some of the options of your viewing experience, but I'm doing this for a specific reason. So let me launch this poll. If you'll just go ahead and answer that for me, and then I'll be able to share the results with you. Yes, Holly, these are okay. So I'm seeing your results coming in here. We'll talk a little bit about polling, but so the whole idea with Zoom and really kind of maximizing this platform, right? Because the fundamentals are fairly easy. You've all signed in. Here we are. We can see one another. But just because you have a guitar in your house and you can make sounds with it doesn't make you a musician, right? So what we're doing here and what I do with people and what I try to do is I try to help them make music, right? So to go past a little bit of just some of the basics. And these polls, right, the questions that you ask kind of, makes this a little bit more robust, right? Brings us a little bit closer together. Okay, so I'm gonna wait just another few seconds. I've got 84% of you have answered the poll. And all right, so I'm going to end the poll right now. And now I'm going to share the results with you so you can see who you're in the room with. Right? You should all be seeing the poll results there. Okay, so I appreciate you answering that. I've got another quick poll at the end. Let me go back to my screen share. Okay, there we go. So, so playing in the digital space, in the online space here is relatively new to some people, okay? We have made a huge shift, a huge pivot in how we interact with other human beings right now. And if those of you who might have had some foresight and might have maybe predicted some of this, and you bought Zoom stock 3 months ago, you're very happy right now. I, as by way of disclosure, don't own any Zoom stock, unfortunately. But it is a very powerful platform, as you'll see. The number one question that people have been asking me lately is, what kind of account do I need? Many of you may be on the free Zoom account right now, okay? And that's how I started with Zoom, and that's how I recommend that everybody starts with Zoom until your needs change, okay? Close that. So let's talk about that. There are 2 plans available to most of us, and I'll explain that in a moment. One is the basic free plan, and one is the pro plan. So here, basically, in a nutshell, are the limitations, okay? So the basic free plan allows you to do exactly what we're doing here, and here are the limitations. If you have a free account, you can meet with someone on a one-to-one basis, right? Not like this in a group, on one-to-one for an unlimited amount of time, okay? In a group environment with Zoom on a free basic account, you're limited to 40 minutes. At the 40-minute mark, it goes dark. Okay, so that, if you can live with those limitations, you're set for a free account, okay? If you want the ability to have group meetings beyond the 40-minute limit, just as a basic yes or no, then you need to be paying for a pro account, okay? You don't have a choice, right? Otherwise, you can jump off at 35 minutes and start a new meeting and come back. But, if you're using this professionally, then that's not good, practice. You'll want to make the investment and get yourself the pay account, okay? Beyond that, at the $19.95 a month level, I believe you need a minimum of 10 hosts. It's meant for larger companies. Most of you on here don't fall into that. So at that first pay level, it's absolutely more than enough. If you're just using this more casually, and you don't need some of the add-ons like the webinar interface, which I'll touch on briefly, then staying with a basic account is just fine, okay? Okay, so let's talk about equipment. Basically, most people have what they need to go live on the Zoom platform already built into the hardware that they have, okay? Most computers today, whether they're desktops, I'm on an iMac right now, whether you're on a laptop, will have what you need built in. And basically, it's a webcam and a microphone, okay? Beyond that, you don't need anything else at the basic level, okay? My setup is a bit different because of my needs. I use an external webcam, and just so you know, I'm going to follow up with an email to all of you that are here that have registered with my equipment list, with the things that I suggest, and some options, so different levels, so that you can make that purchase. Truth of the matter is, right now, it's going to be very tough for you to get your hands on webcasting equipment. It's hard to come by, and it's very expensive because of demand. But when things calm down a bit, you'll be able to get your hands on equipment. So for example, this is the webcam that I use. This is kind of a standard in the industry right now. This is a Logitech C920. I have one right on the top of my computer. It's a high definition webcam. It has different types of mounts so that it could mount to a laptop. You can mount it on a desktop computer, and it also has a 1/4-20 thread on the bottom, which is a standard tripod mount. So you can attach this to a tripod and actually use it to at a production or something like that. Gives you much more flexibility than your built-in webcam. Okay, so that doing something like that's going to give you a much better image than what the built-in webcam would give you, and certainly more flexibility. Holly mentioned earlier that she was raising her laptop up. Okay, and I'm going to look just quickly through so I see some of you, right, are doing what a lot of people do when they're on a webcam, and that's, it's the up the nose kind of look, right? The webcam is mounted because you're working from a laptop or a phone or a tablet that's below your sight line. So it's kind of looking up at you. It's not the most flattering perspective, okay? So it's important, and that's what Holly was trying to do, to raise the camera up to more eye level so that I'm looking directly into my webcam now. So I'm looking at eye level or just above, okay, as opposed to looking down and having the camera looking up at me. So it's subtle changes like that that will take how you're presented in these situations really to the next level. That's why you might want to invest in something like this. A month ago, you could get this on the internet from Amazon for about $50. It's 5 times that right now for you to purchase this online, unfortunately. There used to be a saying that went, television without light is radio. So when you are on Zoom, it's important that you're seen. Quite often, and you can probably look at some of the other people, they're not in a very well lit environment. Most of my light now is coming from in front of me. I have light up over here, and I have light coming off of my computer screen. You may not always have the ability to do that. So you might want to use additional lighting. This is an LED light, okay, that uses very little power. It's battery powered, and it's adjustable, okay, so I can make it brighter. And if I needed to, it could be right in front of me, okay? So making a small investment like this in a light helps the way you look on camera. Oh, yeah. Gotta lie that down. Okay. So you don't necessarily have to buy a light like that. We all have lights in our home or in our office. So it could be as simple as moving a light in front of you, okay? That, might be enough. You could use a simple desk lamp just to illuminate more of your face, right? You always want to keep in mind to apply the standard principles of photography, right? So most people, you want to try and use available light if you have it, but remember that you want your light source always to be in front of you and not behind you. So many people will sit down in front of a window, okay, and have a window behind them, and then they end up being in a silhouette. Now, Steve Furman, who's on, you saw him incorporate something that is now built in. I don't know, I guess he's using the built-in. So Zoom actually has the ability now, if your computer is powerful enough, to use a chroma key principle, right, without actually having chroma key. So Steve, I don't know if you knew this or not, but you can actually use the virtual background without having a chroma key. So this is being generated just within Zoom, okay? Now, if I had to pick any place in the world I'd want to be right now, it would be exactly here, okay? So you could, now of course, you wouldn't want to have a business meeting with the beach behind you. So you would want to make it appropriate, okay? But the background becomes important, because if I had a whole bunch of things going on behind me, then people would be more focused on what's going on behind me rather than what I was presenting. And let me just move. I want to make sure I keep on.
Hey, Robert?
Yes.
Also, depending on the processor in your computer, the green screen will help the imagery in the back. If you have a lower processor computer having an actual screen, or what they call a green screen, like what I have here.
Yes.
Mine's retractable. So say hi to my wife.
Right. It's it's like a window shade. Right. So
yeah, like
so you would make that selection. Thanks, Steve. You would make that selection if you did have a green screen behind you. There is actually a selection within Zoom that says, "Hey, I'm using a green screen, so use that." So it does save processing. But again, just another tool that you can use subtly. But so once you have an understanding of the Zoom from a technical aspect, okay, of how it functions and how to improve your imagery. And as a matter of fact, there is a setting within Zoom that touches up your appearance. Okay, so it actually has a skin smoothing function built into it that will give you a little bit of a boost in terms of how you look on camera. And let me tell you, platforms like this are evolving all the time. So I would highly recommend that when you have Zoom, you check periodically for updates so that you get the latest version with the latest technology in what you're doing. So let me share with you some ideas on how you can utilize Zoom. Okay. So obviously we're in a meeting right now, even though I'm, presenting, and we don't have the interaction right now. Um, so Zoom meeting platform is designed for groups of people to meet in a virtual space. So that's kind of obvious. Zoom can be used to train people. Okay, so this is to me. So okay, so here let me give you a little bit of a visual. So when I think of training in this type of environment, I think of this as what I call a lean forward environment. I am fully engaged. I'm up close to the material. I'm in what I call a lean forward environment. If you're at a seminar in a big, room somewhere, right? You're sitting in this space. I call that a lean back environment. So I'm kind of like, hey, I'm here. I'm checking things out. I'm distracted by looking at that one coming in. Look at that. Who's that? Who's that talking to, right? So it's a very different kind of environment. In a lean forward environment, I think training goes to the next level because you take away all of those distractions. You're able to focus in on what the subject matter is that you are presenting, right? So for training purposes, I think Zoom is an ideal platform, even if you have the opportunity for an in-person experience. And I have, along with Holly, personally produced what we call hybrid events, right? Where we have an in-person live event, and we're also providing this up-close, lean-forward environment for people in the online space as well. Okay, so training. Product demonstrations, ideal. We just produced, those of you who know me, Holly and I also Canna Pop-Up. We created an event company centered around the power of CBD and the cannabis plant. And we actually produced the first virtual Canna Pop-Up back in January, where we brought the kind of the QVC of CBD shopping experience, where I was actually able to produce an interactive shopping experience from 2 different locations with on-screen graphics, a close-up camera for products, a camera for us, the hosts, and we did this all in the virtual environment with everyone being in separate locations. So very, very powerful for product demonstration purposes. Large scale webinars. If I wasn't demonstrating the platform that we're on right now, I would have had all of you in what is known as the webinar platform of Zoom. Okay. Now, the webinar platform in Zoom is designed for presentations to a large audience. Okay. Over 25 or 30 people. What do we have? About 28 in here now. This is about it in terms of manageability. I would probably take this to the webinar platform, which is, again, available if you have a paid account. It's an additional add-on starting at $40, depending on how many attendees that you're going to have in the space. But there are distinct differences and advantages. So if you're looking to put on a webinar for, let's say, 100 people, you could never manage them in this space having so many people. Okay, like if I don't have Holly wrangling questions here, which I'm going to look at momentarily, I could never do both, right? So you need the webinar interface where you can have additional people managing you, right? Am I good? Okay, good. You're compiling? Great. So in the webinar interface, okay, you have the ability for registration with payment. Okay, so if you're running a webinar of some kind and you wanted to have a ticket price for people to come in, you could do that in the webinar interface and hook that up with your PayPal account. And then along with the registration, people would pay your ticket fee for your webinar. Okay, one of the best features, I think, of the webinar interface is and this, we discussed this last night about whether this is a privacy issue or not, but if you're in the webinar interface, let's say you have 100 people on your webinar, at the end of the webinar, part of the reporting system, okay, gives you an engagement report. It lets me know how many people were paying attention, meaning how many people had the active window in front. Many of you right now might be doing other things, checking your Gmail, you're on Facebook, okay? That window is not in front. Now, I won't be able to tell today because we're not in the webinar environment. But if we were in the webinar environment, I would be able to tell who and for how long you were paying attention by now, not to say that, you know, you can't be just listening and doing something else, but it will tell you how many people had the window that you were presenting up front. Okay, that's only available in the webinar interface. I have used Zoom for many years now for video production. Okay, I had the honor of working for an organization called Through My Eyes for 8 years, where I recorded over 300 end of life videos for people who were diagnosed with a terminal illness and had days, weeks, or months to live. And I recorded their final video, if you will, via the Zoom interface. Okay. So it's very powerful in that regard. And of course that, you know, you can edit that after the fact and things like that. But it allowed me to get to places to record with people that I could have never done had I gone there in person. Okay. So it was very powerful in that regard. And as I said earlier, this is being recorded so that, you know, I can repurpose this later on and people who weren't here can view it. Okay. So, okay, great. All right. And then of course, any of this, anything that happens through the Zoom interface today is able to be live streamed out to Facebook, out to YouTube, to Twitch, I believe, if any of you are twitching. That's a whole other training, trust me. So YouTube, Facebook, or you can go out on what's known as RTMP, which is a bit more complicated. But if I chose to, I could take this event right now out to social media, okay, out to YouTube, out to Facebook, if I chose to. We're actually running an event for those of you who choose to, or in the Livingston area or beyond. We're doing a live event tomorrow night with our mayor, town manager, and health department official within Livingston to answer some questions. And I'm producing that in the live environment that will be pushed out to Facebook live. And that is all done through the Zoom interface. Okay, so before we move into questions, right? A couple of things I want to demonstrate. I think Steve Furman might have asked about breakout rooms. Okay, so this is a little known function that you can activate within Zoom, right? That will allow the host, the meeting organizer, to create breakout rooms. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now for you guys just to show you how it works. And I'm only going to do it for a few seconds because I don't trust any of you to be alone in a room with one another. No, I'm only kidding. But I want to show you how powerful it is, because think about this, right? Think about, you know, so we're on a little bit over half an hour now. Let's say at this point, I wanted to split all of you up into 4 different rooms, okay? 4 different topic areas. Let's say we're going to talk about social media at this point. So I can take some of you in a room to talk about Twitter, some of you in a room to talk about Facebook, some of you to talk about Instagram, okay? So I'm going to do this right now, and it's going to be automatic. You won't have to do anything, okay? I'm going to create 4 breakout rooms, and you're going to automatically be moved into these rooms. And let me have this set up. Break out automatically. Okay. All right. I wanted to just make sure I'll be able to bring you all back. So I'm going to do this. It's going to happen automatically. Say hello to one another when you get into the rooms. I'm going to pop in quickly and say hi to all of you. No. Okay, everybody. So I just jumped in to this breakout room to say hello to you guys because this is room number 1. So hi, room number 1. Hi. I'm going to leave you now. Go to room number 2.
Hey, Robert.
Breakout room number 2. What's up?
Hey, Robert. What's up?
You guys, you good?
Hey, Robert.
Another few seconds will bring you back in.
Hi.
Hang on.
Say hi, Bill.
Hi there.
I did that on the computer, but on the phone it looks a little
Hey,
different.
everybody.
So,
Oh, there we
See,
go.
just popped into this room. Say hi.
hi,
Good
Robert.
morning.
Robin,
You guys
Robin,
are doing
turn it
good.
horizontally.
I asked, how do you do it? Do you need like a certain number of people to get the option?
Still the same 4.
Robert?
Hang on,
Robert?
hang on, hang on, hang on.
Sarasota.
I'm not
Hey,
sure how far that
okay,
is.
room number 4. So I popped in to say
Robert!
hello to room number 4. How you guys
Robert!
doing? Good?
I don't see my friend Paul.
Good. All right.
He's
So
on there,
here we
but his
go.
camera's not working or something. Hold on.
Robert?
Robert? Robert. Okay, you're muted, and Steve has a question. And if everybody comes on, they could
Robert,
also,
you're muted. You're muted.
Robert, you
sorry,
muted?
sorry. I had to hit the button. You hear me now?
Yeah. My question really was, I normally do one-on-ones. When do you see the option show up? I have the pro version. When do you see the option show up to do breakout rooms? When you have more than X number?
Okay, well, I'll answer that question as soon as everyone gets back in here. Just when all the rooms are closed.
and everyone can turn on the
Okay.
video.
All
now.
right, everyone. Okay, it's all closed now. And you're back. Okay, so that was a demonstration of the breakout rooms. Very, very powerful tool. Okay. But Steve's question about the breakout rooms was how do I engage this? So breakout rooms are a setting in the back end of Zoom. Okay. So really the power of this program becomes in how it's set up in the back end, right? And it's quite detailed, and depending on what you need will determine what how your settings, how your account is set up. Okay, because there are so many different settings in the back end that most people don't even ever glance at. So I wanted to just share with you before we get into the Q&A part, and I'll stay on here as long as you'd like. Okay, but I wanted to share with you that I obviously you can see that there's a lot to go over here, right? And I do want to offer the ability for me to meet one-on-one with you. So let me just share this, that I do offer a personal coaching session, okay? And it's a 90-minute session that it takes you through a number of different things, okay? I can set up your account for you. I'll run a practice session with you. We'll talk about how to design your studio. I'll be able to take you through all of the back end settings for the program, okay? Whether it's the webinar interface, whether it's the meeting interface, where to record, how to record. You have the ability to do on-demand webinars. So you can give a webinar once, record it, and then set it up so that people can then re-register or register again for your webinar and have it available on demand, okay? For all of you on the session today until midnight tonight, if you want to take advantage of this, it's $149 a person. If you want to do this with a friend on the same session, and the sessions are recorded, so you don't have to take any notes or anything like that. We record the session and I send you the video recording of everything that we go over. If you'd like to do it with two people, you and someone else, okay, you can both be in separate places. Social distancing is important. 2 people, it's at $249 for both of you, okay? And that ends at midnight tonight. I'll be sending out a link right after this in email. I'll also put that into the chat for you if you want to take advantage of that now. So let me open it up for any of you for questions. You have, okay, so Holly's compiled the questions. Go ahead. Yes, sure. Okay. All right. So Holly's going to come with a couple of the questions. Let me stop that. I'm going to drop into the chat the link for you if you want to go directly there. So Holly, you want to come on? You want to unmute? And
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
I'm unmuted and I'm back. Okay.
So ask me the question.
You may have answered a few of these. The first thing is Paul asked if you were using PowerPoint for your slides. So do you want to talk about that, or is that something
Yes,
that?
let me just hang on. I'm sorry. I'm going to just put the link. So I put the link to register for that in the chat box if you want. So these slides were created on Canva, actually. That's what I used to create that. Okay, so what's the next question, huh?
Okay, so Ira has a number of questions. Okay, so one is, can you use your GoPro as a camera?
The short answer is no.
Okay, can you create with the backgrounds? Can you create your own background?
Yes, you can upload anything that is properly formatted in that aspect ratio. Yes.
And is that only available in the paid version?
No, it is dependent on the power of your computer. There are certain specifications, and if you try to do it, if you're unable to do it, Zoom will let you know that that your computer is not powerful enough, and it will make fun of you for a few seconds, and then you move on.
Okay. Can you, Megan wanted to know, how do you put the slides on the screen? I would think that would be in your additional training.
Yes, that is screen sharing, right? So let me talk briefly about screen sharing. This is most people think screen sharing is, oh, I'm just going to click this button, I'm going to share my desktop. Okay, that you don't want to do. Okay, and Zoom allows you to really zero in on what it is that you want to share on the screen. Okay, so for example, I have my slides loaded into, and I'm on a Mac, so I have it loaded into Preview, which is the system viewer for files and images and things like that. So I load up my PDF version of my slides. So if you're using PowerPoint, if you're using Keynote, if you're using Google Slides, any of those will allow you in the finished form to export a PDF document. And that's what I recommend you use. And then just load that up in your PDF viewer, set it to a single page so that you can flip through just with your arrow buttons or your mouse or your wheel on your mouse, and you could go page by page by page. So I was showing you my slides. It was really a PDF document. It was a 12-page PDF document that I was sharing with you. So you can do that in any format.
Okay, some more questions. So John wanted to know if you could use a video background.
No.
Also, John also wanted to know about adjusting the volume in Zoom specifically. I tried changing the volume using my computer keyboard, but it doesn't seem to work.
Okay, so Holly, I just need to mute you. I'm sorry. That's why I muted you. Otherwise, we'll hear an echo. So I forgot the question. Wait, what was the question, huh?
So how do I adjust the volume in Zoom specifically?
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So Zoom, when you're in Zoom, you can bring up the preferences menu. Within the preferences menu, it allows you to check your video settings, your audio settings, where your recording gets stored. It'll take you to your advanced settings. So your audio settings would be taken care of within those preferences, both your broadcast level, right, your microphone level, and your headphone level, which is something I didn't mention earlier. You really should, when you can, if you can, use earbuds or headphones of some sort. That will minimize any kind of echo that might happen during the session, especially when you have many people on the screen.
Robert, how are the background, Monty, want to know how the background screens are accessed? Is that also in the next level of Zoom?
You have to activate the virtual screen capability in your video setting, in your advanced video settings within Zoom. So it has to be activated first in the account, and then you would activate it through your video selection button in the interface.
William, and this is, I know there are so many uses, William. He asked, what are some ideas for Zoom video production?
That's a great question. It's ideal for interviews. It's ideal for testimonial videos. Calling your mother. It's great for calling your mother. Demonstrations, anything that you do, I had a meeting last night with my video colleagues, and as you can imagine, there was a lot of sad faces and a lot of, what are we going to do? How are we going to make money? What should I do? And, I think having a skill set like being comfortable in Zoom, being someone who can call themselves an expert in this environment, I think looks really great on a resume, especially if it's true. Right? If you become much more comfortable with Zoom and how to produce events, I mean, I'm busier now than I've been in months in terms of these types of services. I'm speaking to people multiple times a day who want me to help them, from houses of worship to large scale companies that need to continue to do business, but just need to move it here. I have real estate agents reaching out to me because they want to be able to interact with their prospective buyers while knowing that they can't bring people through a house, or they can't be running, a typical open house environment. So, being more comfortable with this tool will, it opens up endless ideas. Go ahead,
and you could also offer consultations. You could do product spotlights. There are so many opportunities. I mean, really, this is a very, very powerful tool. I have more questions, Robert. Okay, so this one, I know okay. Annette says, I had a 3-way meeting, 2 on Apple, 1 on Android. Apple participants were hearing clearly both ways. Android was hearing us clearly, but we could not hear her. We troubleshooted, but couldn't figure it out.
We had the same situation yesterday in a meeting. So when you signed into Zoom, into this meeting, you probably had a choice of whether to use the computer audio or telephone audio. So if you're having a problem so here's my general rule. This question came up today as well. If you're on a Windows machine and you have recently used your camera or your microphone for another application, and then you try to open up Zoom and get into Zoom, I can almost assure you, you're going to have some issues. Either your microphone's not going to work or your camera's not going to work. So what I would recommend is if you're on a Windows machine especially, or any computer for that matter, and you're going to start an important video call, restart your computer, okay? Give it a clean boot, and then start Zoom so that whatever was taking hold of your camera or microphone previously has now released it so that when Zoom starts, it can utilize those computer resources.
Okay. What are your thoughts about WebEx and other equivalent platforms?
You know, they're all good in their own right. Someone had suggested to me yesterday another platform that I had used previously, and I don't use it now, and I couldn't remember why. And then as soon as I went back into it and looked at it and tried it, I said, oh, this is why I don't use it. So for me, Zoom just covers all bases. It allows me to go live. It allows me to record a good quality recording. It allows me to do the meetings. I could do, you know, I could do my large scale events in the webinar platform. You know, it just gives me the flexibility. You know, WebEx is more at the corporate level. It is quite expensive in comparison, from what I understand, but there are new platforms coming along all the time. I mean, I used to use Google Hangouts all the time religiously, and that kind of, you know, changed. You know, you can apply these techniques, right? What I explained to you about camera position, lighting, all of that. It doesn't matter which platform, right? You can be using FaceTime, okay? When you're using your phone to broadcast, the most important thing is stabilizing the camera. That's it. If you can make one change when you produce video with your phone, if you could stabilize that phone somehow, it's going to improve your video 1,000%. And one of the slides that I didn't share with you was a slide that talked about how much of the internet's bandwidth going forward is going to be consumed by video. And it's better than 80%. By 2021, the early predictions were that 83% of all bandwidth, that means all of the information traveling through the pipes of the internet, is video, okay? So if you're in business, you need video. End of story, especially now more than ever, right? If your way of communicating with people is going to be here for these next coming months, and you're in business and you're not incorporating this communication tool in some way, shape, and form, whether it be client meetings, you know, I've had companies reach out that would typically do a market, right, where buyers come in to see their products. Okay, guess what? Buyers are not coming in to see products, right? So now they want to figure out how I can provide to them a virtual tour of their showroom for their buyers. It's a whole new world out there, right? But there's no reason to stop doing business. It's all about the pivot. It's all about the pivot, shifting gears, moving into another lane, figuring it out. Okay, that's it. If you don't
Okay,
want,
Robert.
you know, so go ahead.
No, and then also, I mean, just so you also know, I mean, I've been with Isogenics for 5 years, and that's like the best nutrition on the planet, and people get their box delivered to them. So I have reviewed the box. I don't have to go to everybody's house. I could be speaking to people across the country, and as they're unpacking their box, and that could be from anybody who has products that may be in that type of business, that could also be reviewing what's in the box, a reveal of that. Okay, Robert. Now, so Robert put me as the speaker view.
Go ahead, babe.
Okay, so a few more questions, but I do want to just quickly say we want to support small business during this time. And we spoke to Dan Blue, owner of Livingston Bagel, yesterday, and we had a special promotion going. So if anyone today is getting their lunch You will get 6 free bagels if you go and you mention Livingston Chamber of Commerce and that you were part of this Zoom. So highly encourage you to go and do curbside pickup at Livingston Bagel. So there are some more questions, just a couple of more. And I think William was interested in, well, first, no, William had 3 questions. So, and this may be in the advanced training. So where is the folder where you upload new photos for the background? You're muted.
So you can upload anywhere. It's done in the interface. So you can pull in an image from anywhere on your computer. So you don't need, it doesn't need to reside anywhere in particular.
And I think the other couple of questions from, oh, great. Jay said that he did the Livingston Bagel lunch. That's great. Oh, that's fantastic, Jay. Thank you. That's great.
Thanks, Jay.
So William also asked, and this is something that Robert does do for other businesses, and I'm sure many of you have those roles in your businesses that you want to, you know, he says, if conducting a Zoom meeting, I'm going to read both questions, Robert. If conducting a Zoom meeting,
I read that about pricing. It
Right.
varies. It varies widely, and really, it's, you know, those types of things are done on a project by project basis in terms of cost. Okay, so we're almost at about 2 hours here, and we could probably go along for more.
do we want to take any group shot? Can we or no?
No, I'll do a
screen
quick
capture?
screen capture if people don't mind. Do that. Great. Okay, got it. You all look great, by the way. So, okay, so that'll do it for today. Again, if anyone wants to take advantage of our special offer, you can head on over. Again, I'll drop the link in the sidebar chat there, and I'm going to have an email going out to you very shortly with links to some of the equipment I referred to, the camera that I use, the microphone that I'm using as well, so that you can get that for yourself if you choose to. Again, thank you all for taking the time to join me. Thanks to the Livingston Chamber of Commerce for kind of being the top line for this. It's going to be important for all of us to support our local businesses now more than ever. We're going to need to shop local. So please keep that in mind when things start to get back to normal. Get out there and support your local businesses. If you can support any of them now, please do so. And we'll all get through this together. So thanks very much, and hope to see you all again soon.